Alright everyone, it's time to banish those black pills yet again. Preferably get some other content creators on board with something that I've discovered, and it's probably the biggest thing that I've noticed as a content creator. And I say this as someone who has not just made content, but also been involved with watching other people's content or listening to it, podcasts and stuff like that. And it goes beyond vlogging. It can be blogging, it can be radio, talk, anything like that. When I've had some of my darker times in life, so when I had anhedonia after my overdose, I would binge watch various content creators at the time, some of which were ironically back then leftoids, although more libertarian content by then. I found it made me feel better. To be able to talk with those content creators was also probably the biggest bonus. The ability to interact with other people, distract yourself from your own misery at times, then with anhedonia, and also to get advice, tips and so forth on how to handle things, how to improve your life, how to improve your body, your mind, your fiscal situation, etc., etc. I found it very helpful. And so that's one of the things that I try to do when I'm making my videos. Trying to tell people, sometimes a person is massively depressed, they're screwing up in life, they've got talent, they're not sick, so they don't have some congenital illness that prevents them from doing things. There's nothing wrong with them, they're not a lunatic or anything like that, but they're just not hoofing it. And what I've told them consistently, and I wish other content creators would echo the same basic message, because we could use a little bit more positivity in the world, I think, right now. Most of the news is negative. It's clickbaity for a reason. People respond to it more. They respond very much to fear more than to tell people, hey, you can do it, and sometimes that's what people need. I tell people that if you want to improve your life, you should do one of several things, or all of the above. And it goes in with my anti-NIMBY sentiment as well. That's on a different angle, but it's a similar basic approach. It's called plant a tree instead of paying someone else to plant a tree. What I advise people is generally you can't rely on the system to help you. If the system was able to help people in general, then we'd be living in utopia right now. Do we live in a utopia, or do we live closer to a dystopia? I would say definitely the latter. You got a tax on all your... in the so-called free world, you've got consistent attacks to try to get rid of the free part and just make it the world, hence globalism. And what I tell people is learn a new skill, drop a vice, if applicable. Of course, everyone's got, their issues, and, maybe you drink a little bit too much. Okay, well, are you still functioning at least? You're not pickling yourself completely? Okay, well, you can work on it, but, maybe it's better to spend a bit of time building a skill. Everyone has hobbies. They get demoralized and they think, I can't make this into anything more than a hobby. I'm wasting my time. No, you playing guitar is probably not a waste of time. If all else fails, if society really goes on the downturn and your shitty job ends up getting cut, you can at the very least play that guitar in a subway station and get a sandwich. That may not sound like a good existence. Indeed, it would be a tough life, but you haven't starved. Despite you're on rock bottom, but you still are above the ground, so to speak. When times get tough, sometimes we have to quickly readapt things. Learn how to cook, for example. A lot of millennials and Gen Z don't know how to cook, goddamn turkey sandwich. They don't even know how to toast bread. Learn the basics. You'll save money, by the way, in doing that. Making it from scratch yourself will save money. It's also more nutritional and tasty. Just takes a little bit of time and a little bit of practice. I'm not exactly a Michelin chef, but I'm capable of some competent cooking. Just ask anyone that's had my chili, for example. Learn how to, you have a home garden. Well, expand it some. Learn some new tips and tricks. Look up azomite and terra preta. Trust me, those are good ideas. Then you learn how to can the food and stuff. Well, you're better off than most people now if things really, really get dicey economically. You are an anxious person. I suffer from social anxiety myself. It's a vice that I don't intend to bother tackling because I just tend to be a little bit sociophobic in general, and I don't need to go out in society as much because I'm self-employed. So in my case, I don't consider that to be a negative in my life. It's just not something that I need to prioritize changing. But maybe you do have problems. You go to work, you're stressed constantly. Try to figure out ways to get past that. There's a million tutorials on YouTube alone probably on that subject. May gain more knowledge. Just for fun, study something new. Build up your mind. A lot of people, they leave school and then they never really study anything else. Read more books. That's always a good decision. You can, by the way, get 1 million books for free online in ebook form, unfortunately. I prefer physical copies myself, but each to their own, on archive.org. Well, there's limitless knowledge there. Search for literally anything under the sun. You'll find something to your liking there. Much of it, if you filter for older results, is copyright free. Yeah, you're reading a book from the 1920s. You know how fascinating those can be? So my advice, and also, my biggest advice is just don't quit. Well, I mean, if you're smoking or something, maybe you should quit, but don't stop. If at first you don't succeed, on the next attempt you may get it. You know, shit, I failed to learn swimming. Okay, well then try again. You know, go to I'm here in the Netherlands. I think pretty much everyone knows how to swim. It's kind of a prerequisite, but there are people that don't know how. There's some, you always wanted to write a book. Well, until you start, there's no possibility of you ever finishing it. So get some ideas, outline it, maybe coordinate with another person. It's possible. They make a novel with another person. Now, maybe they've got better writing skills and you've got the big idea and the outline and you sort of collaborate together. Maybe it becomes a New York Times bestseller and you make $1 million. You don't know. So stop worrying so much. If you sit there, this is another thing that ties into my depression post-OD. For a while, I was basically knocked out of commission. I was moping. Basically, I was a NEET for a while. I wasn't able to even function. And then what I realized, when things got really rough, I was forced to work and to try to, join the grift and make money. And I succeeded. And it was inexplicable. I didn't have any experience editing things. Admittedly, this shows in some of my earlier works, not necessarily the more recent ones. I didn't know that I would ever have a six-figure daily audience online. Thank you, Sargon, by the way, partially responsible for that success. I never knew that I could do all of these things. I didn't know anything about crypto. I'm glad I got into that. Although crypto market has been wonky for the last couple of years, but it's still good. I didn't know I could do any of these. I didn't know I could cook until I tried. I could make a sloppy Joe or a grilled cheese sandwich. That was the only thing, and then not as well as I can make them now. It's the only thing that I knew how to cook until a few years ago. I had never tried. I had never made the actual attempt. The first time I tried to make soup back as a teenager, it was disgusting. I said, well, clearly I'm not meant to be a cook or anything like that, and I gave up for the next 15 years. More recently, I took it up. Now I can cook hundreds of different dishes. I can cook shit from India, Singapore, and everywhere else in the world, and it's good. It's fun, too. I didn't know it was amusing. I always thought of it as hard, difficult labor that I wouldn't enjoy. Now I kind of like to cook every day when I can. So no black pills. Don't give up. You can do it. You have skills. You just have to figure out which ones you have. And especially for the younger users here, your hobbies can be lucrative. If you're like 15, 16 years old, you play guitar, you do roller skating stuff. Okay, practice them all until you can't practice any further. And branch out into more things, especially when you're young. If you're under 25 or thereabouts, now's the time to skill build. Stack it up as high as possible. Learn a language, write a book, do everything under the sun that you can. It will make later life potentially easier. It won't necessarily make your life perfect. It won't necessarily even make it easy. Something catastrophic could happen. You really have trained on guitar, but then you lose your arms. That's possible. And it's sad when that happens, but you've got a better chance at really making it and doing well and having at least a comfortable life, and you'll be a more interesting person too. You got more skills, and you're not sad all the time. You're having fun. You're planning your leaks and playing your guitar or your harp like a bard next to your leek garden. Sounds like a pretty idyllic life. That's about all. Peace out.